Good evening, baseball fans. How are you doing? Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. We got a lot to talk about on this fine Sunday evening. We have some unfortunate news with Liam Hendriks that we're going to discuss. Carlos Correa, we have an update. And we have an update because of another baseball YouTuber out there, Wardy NYM, has the scoop. The Tigers and the Phillies made a trade. The Marlins are still looking to make a trade. Could there be a picture out there that could be a trade candidate? The Yankees are showing some interest in a certain left fielder out there. Everyone, good evening. Good evening. How are you doing? Everyone, I left my charger for my iPad. I don't know if I've said this before, but I have my iPad right in front of me usually, and I left my charger at work, so I have the good old phone so I can make sure everything is up and running on the stream. So, anyway, I digress. How are you guys doing? How's everyone doing? Who do we got here? Oh, wait, hold on a second. Let me make sure. Is this working here? This is working. Okay, cool. How are we doing, everyone? Thank you for stopping by tonight. Always love seeing all you familiar faces coming into the chat. We got some moderators. We got some members. We got Andrew Lee. We got Zachary Goldstein. We got Sean. We got Dr. Slick Nuts, one of my favorite names. Athletics 510. How you doing, my friend? It feels like it's been a while since I've seen your name. How you doing? I hope all is well. How you doing? We got Nicholas, one of our moderators here. Hello, hello. Everyone, James Hirota, how you doing, my friend? Welcome back. Welcome back. Everyone, again, hope you're all having a great weekend. Unfortunately, it is Monday tomorrow, but hopefully we have a week with some news. I feel like it's been a bit dead lately when it comes to the rumor mill. I mean, there's not really much else to talk about when it comes to free agents. We did have a trade, over the weekend that we will dive into. I was going to do a video on it, but, listen, I know you all, you want the content, I know, but sometimes I got to just step away from the computer, from just recording. It kind of, man, oh man, I just need a break sometimes, working full time throughout the week. I usually try to not do any sort of content like Fridays and Saturdays, just so I can give myself a bit of a break so I don't just explode over here. So I will dive into the Gregory Soto trade, give my thoughts on that. We do, unfortunately, have some not great news when it comes to Liam Hendriks. I'm going to talk about that. We got some other trade rumors out there. A couple other free agents are still on the board. I'm going to talk about those tonight as well. But everyone, before I do get into it, if you are new, think about subscribing down below. We are on the road to 30K subscribers. We're trying to get to 30K by opening day. So if you can help us get there, that would be amazing. I would love you forever. And also, everyone, if you can, hit the like button for us. Share the stream if you can. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. But bringing tonight's episode to all of your friendly faces out there, we have BetOnline. Basketball is back. We got the football playoffs coming up, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to BetOnline to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, everyone, let's get to it. We got plenty to talk about tonight. I got the music ready. Can you believe it? I got the music ready for what? Oh my goodness, look at that, coming in clutch. The potato brain usually fails me. But unfortunately, I got to start this off on a bit of a sad note. Not great news, but taking a look here. Liam Hendriks has been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Luckily, when it comes to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There is good statistics that are that favor him very well. When it comes to Liam Hendriks, this guy's just a bulldog out there. I've seen many players show a lot of passion on the field. Obviously, the man just loves the game of baseball. He's a fierce competitor. And that's why a lot of people just love the man. And so I have no doubt at all in my head that this guy is going to step right up to this challenge, and he's just going to take it by the horns, and he's going to wreck it. You know, I have no doubt in my mind. But just going over some statistics, they are very much in his favor. Anytime you hear, you know, lymphoma or cancer or anything, it always kind of hits you in a certain spot, man. It never feels good to hear any words like that. But the overall 5-year survival rate, 73%. For stage 1, it is 84%. For stage 2, 77%. Stage 3, 71%. And even stage 4, where that gets really later on, that's actually still pretty solid at 64%. And that's for stage 4. But there were a couple of statements brought out. Liam Hendriks actually posted this on his Instagram. Recently, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Hearing the word cancer came as a shock to my wife and I, as it does to millions of families each year. However, I am resolved to embrace the fight and overcome this new challenge with the same determination I have used when facing other obstacles in my life. And also, White Sox Senior Vice President General Manager Rick Hahn came out with a statement. Our thoughts and reactions at this time are for Liam the person, not Liam the baseball player. And I'm really glad he started it off that way, because I feel like, listen, we come on here, we talk stats, we talk players, but man, there is a human element to all of this, you know? I think that is something that tends to get forgotten. As I get older, I mean, I'm not Gandalf the Grey over here. I'm not, you know, the most wise person out there, but you know, the older I get, the more I realize that these guys, they're just going to work every day. You know, they're just working people. Yeah, sure, they're definitely making a few more bucks than the average person. But, you know, you can sit here and say, you know, they're playing a game for a living. But, man, these guys, they're working incredibly hard every day. And, you know, I just want to, you know, always put that into perspective. You know, there's a human there when it comes to the players. We can sit there, we can go, you know, people go on Twitter, they give their opinions. There's many people on Twitter that just think they're experts about everything and yada, yada, yada. But there are human beings here, you know, so I'm really glad he kind of started it off with that. I know the entire Chicago White Sox organization, our staff, his teammates, and certainly White Sox fans will rally in support of Liam and Christy, his wife, during the coming months. Knowing everyone involved, especially Liam, we are optimistic he will pitch again for the White Sox as soon as viable. In the meantime, we will do everything in our power to support our teammates and his family, or our teammates, sorry, and his family as they face this challenge, while also respecting their privacy. We do not expect to have any updates on Liam's playing status prior to opening day at the very earliest. So I think that was good to put there as well, because I'm sure there's definitely going to be a lot of questions. This is something I just hope the media stays away from this. You know, don't even ask any questions. The media, they're already just annoying in themselves. I'm going to talk about someone in the media here in a little bit. He really cheesed me off this past weekend. But, you know, let's just hopefully these media members out there, they don't, you know, they be respectful of what's going on here. I will say, you know, personal story, and I don't give a lot of personal stories on here, but in my first year of teaching, I say this a lot. If you are new and you don't know, I am a teacher full time. My first year of teaching, I was actually a co-teacher. My first year, I got hired to be a co-teacher with someone who is now, you know, near and dear to my heart. Ended up finding out later on that she had stage 4 breast cancer, right? And unfortunately, she did pass away, and that was something that actually did hit me pretty hard at the time. You know, she really taught me a lot just about being a teacher, she taught me that foundation. She gave me the resources, the tools that I still use to this day. And I thank her a lot, for everything, not just being, for what I do in the classroom and whatnot, but just living my life. The fact that I know how to operate as a teacher, it's all because of her. And without, her guidance and her support, who knows if I would even be doing this channel. Who knows, but the fact that she brought me that stability in my life, to be able to do my job at least somewhat okay, I thank her a lot. So cancer is definitely something that has, hit me close to home. And, we didn't have the longest relationship, but she was kind of like a Yoda to me, if that makes any sense. Like, she was my mentor. And so for Liam, man, I don't need to sit here and say I'm pulling for you. I'm hoping for the best. I don't need to say any of that, because there's no need to. Because if you, for some reason, you're watching this or whatever, probably not, but you don't need it, because you're gonna absolutely wreck this. You're gonna absolutely destroy this. You're gonna be amazing during this whole process. I know you're gonna be back on the mound at some point, but Liam, man, hey, do what you got to do, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you soon back on the mound, but take care of your life, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and fight the good fight, my friend. And this is, it's going to end up being a really cool thing when he does come back. So, but let's get to some more positive news, shall we? Let's get to some more positive news. So, taking a look here at... You know what? Hold on 1 second. I know we're focused on Liam Hendriks, but I do want to just point one thing out. I'm not saying this is not the focal point of the whole thing, but I do just want to point out that I think the White Sox bullpen is going to be just fine. This is why the Kendall Graveman signing a year ago was so big. This guy has closed out many games, so he will step into that role until Hendricks comes back. Bullpen, I think, is going to be just fine for the White Sox. But Graveman, that signing now ends up being just so huge. And, man, so White Sox bullpen, expect Kendall Graveman to be the closer moving forward. So, moving on here. Moving on. Let's get to some positive news, shall we? Let's get to some positive news. So, we got a little bit of an update on Carlos Correa. What the heck is going on here with Carlos Correa and the New York Mets? Is he going to the Mets? Is he going to the Twins? Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. But, man, oh man, a good buddy, a fellow YouTuber, like John Heyman described him as, if anyone saw the tweet this past weekend. Wardy, NYM, we all know Giraffe Neck Mark is... big Mets fan. I like to say Giraffe Neck Robbie on here a lot because I'm a Red Sox fan and I have my biased moments. We all know Giraffe Neck Mark is a super Mets fan. But there's also Wardy, NYM. And, hey, great guy. Played some baseball with him this past summer. Cool dude. Really like talking with him. And, hey, he helped me out. He was helping me out, giving me rides and everything. Yeah, he's a great guy. But he went to a Mets event this past weekend. And, actually, let me go here to... here it is. So, here was the tweet from John Heyman. Here it is. Cohen to Mets YouTuber. Come on, John. John, come on, man. You couldn't just put him... And you know what John ended up saying in here? I ended up saying, come on, Wardy NYM deserves the tag. Why can't you do that for him, John? And look, John, come on, man. Okay, someone put here, the YouTuber was Wardy NYM. Put some respect on my boy's name. And then this guy had the audacity to say, it's in the article. Great. Not everyone's going to click on the article, John. It's Twitter. Do you think people are just whatever? They just look at what's going on here. And a lot of people, they end up not reading the article anyway. So you couldn't have just put Wardy NYM right there. Right there. You see this space right here, John? That would have been perfect. Would have been perfect. Or you could have put it, I don't know, right here. Why couldn't you do that, John? Come on, you can announce Arson Judge to the Giants, but you can't just put one little tag and then you just say, oh, it's in the article. John, go eat a sandwich. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Goodness gracious. But Wardy was at a, I guess it was I don't know what kind of an event it was. They just say a Citi Field event. I don't know if it was, I don't know what this event was. So I don't know if anyone can help me out on that. But Wardy, or AKA Tyler Ward, he ended up asking Steve Cohen a question. And actually, he got a picture with Steve Cohen too. That was pretty cool. Let me actually go here. Let me go to his Twitter page. He got a picture with Steve Steinbrenner himself. Where is it? Where's the picture? Where's the picture? What's going on here? Where is it? Oh, yeah, he was also put in an article, too. Or whatever it was. What is this? I don't know what newspaper this is, but it's in the paper. He has his name in the paper, so that's already a life milestone right there. Where is the picture? There's the picture. He got a picture with Steve Cohen. My goodness. What a moment. What a moment, man. Hey, Tyler, man, I'm very happy for you, dude. I'm very happy, you know. But he asked Steve Cohen, let me actually get to the actual story here. He asked him, hey, what's going on with Carlos Correa? You know, what's the word? What's the scoop? He then goes on to say, while I can't speak on the player, I do believe we'll have a resolution soon, one way or the other. I mean, that is definitely such a dance around the question kind of an answer, because he can't really give you an answer, really. I mean, because he just can't. It's against, it's completely against the rules. So the one key thing that sticks out to me, though, is he says one way or the other. Now, I definitely think they could get come to terms on a deal. There's going to have to be a whole lot of language in there, because obviously they're a little spooked by, you know, the ankle. That seems to be, or according to reports, that is the main issue with Carlos Correa, is he suffered a fractured ankle, or fibula tibula. I can't fully remember the exact wording of it, but he messed up his leg while he was in the minor leagues. And I don't know, like it didn't really come up with the Twins last year when he signed with them, but it's coming up now. Well, I guess he got hurt again this past year near the end of the season. So that I guess maybe that ended up, who knows if it something happened with it or whatever, but I don't know. But this is a pretty, these are some key words to me. One way or the other. I'd say it's 50-50 at this point. Maybe 60% towards getting a deal done. I would think you got to get a deal done, right? That would be absolutely crazy to me if he ends up not going to the Mets. I just feel like, to me, they're going to get a deal done. You're going to have to put language in the deal. Correa, I would think he wants to go to the Mets. It just has to be good for both sides. The Mets obviously want to watch themselves. That's why the Giants pulled out of it, because they just felt like, you know what? We don't want to sign this player for these terms. They were signing him to a big old contract. And, yeah, they felt like, I think the Giants would have ended up doing something with him, but Boris didn't want to renegotiate. You know, a lot of people were blaming the Giants, and I think Boris ended up saying that the Giants, you know, never even like contacted him again or whatever, because it's like, you know, Boris isn't going to renegotiate, you know, so that's why it's probably just such a thing here. But Correa probably wants to go to the Mets at this point. And also, if he doesn't go to the Mets, you know, then you're losing a ton of leverage at that point. So I think Boris has to do something with the language of this deal, because he's losing leverage. All right. So, but I think also Correa just wants to go to the Mets. I think he wants to go to a team that wants to win championships, you know? So the Twins, I mean, sure, I think he would be fine with going back to the Twins, but if I'm Carlos Correa and I want to win some championships, I want to go to the Mets. Sorry, like, no disrespect to the Twins, but the Mets, they got the money. Obviously, there's, you know, big-time market there, sponsors. You know, Correa, I think he knows that, like, all right, I got to be a Met here. Fine, I'll be a Twin if I have to, but I'd rather be a New York Met. So I think there's probably like a 60-70% chance he ends up going to the Mets. That's just what I'm thinking. That's my gut. But if they can't come to terms, well then, I think he ends up going back to the Twins. So unless another team like jumps in for like a 2-year deal or something like that, like another short-term kind of a deal. But in my mind, I think he ends up going back to the Mets. So, but Wardy, man, again, awesome. That's awesome, man. That honestly, if I'm talking about this whole Jon Heyman thing, I actually think that ended up helping Wardy, and I think he would actually agree with me that I think it ended up helping him in the long run that he was not mentioned by Jon Heyman, because so many people just started tagging him in it, and now his name and his Twitter handle are getting out there into the algorithm on Twitter even more. So I think it actually helped that Jon Heyman didn't, tag him. So I think it would have been nice for him to do it, or he could have at least tagged him in a comment. John, you're just the media. I don't know what it is. It's such a weird, this is why I don't want to be in the media. They're just all a bunch of weirdos. I don't understand them, man. But John, you got Arson Judge right, my friend. You got Arson Judge right. So anyway, let's move on here. Let's talk about our next story. We had a trade this past weekend. We had a little bit of a trade between the Phillies and the Tigers. It was an interesting trade. Very interesting. And taking a look here. You all know I love baseball trade values, and I will still, to this day, there's still going to be haters out there for baseball trade values. I don't get it. People, when it comes to baseball trade values, and I don't say people, I'm saying it like I'm generalizing it, but there are people out there that just refuse to believe how good this site is. And what people always try to do, oh, that site is terrible, it's not good, that site is unrealistic, it doesn't make any sense ever. And the only way they try to back it up is by putting the most ridiculous trades on there. Not all of the trades, you could line up the numbers perfectly where it's even value on both sides. That doesn't mean the trade is good. And people they just don't want to open their minds. I don't understand. They don't seem to understand that what baseball trade values does is it bridges the gap in terms of just understanding how a trade works. But there's also the human philosophy behind it. There are people that have conversations. There are team needs. There are different philosophies within each organization. You're not always going to have a perfect value for value trade. It's not going to be perfect by any means, but they have about a 95% acceptance rate on their simulator. I don't understand. What else do people need? Do people want to have you want a cake or something from John himself of baseball trade values to make yourself feel better about the site? I don't know what it is. People they just want to be negative about something. They don't want to believe, but I don't know, whatever. This amazing. You all know how I feel about baseball trade values. It's my main source. I've had a good relationship with John, for quite a while now. I've been using this site since 2019. If any other channels come out there and they try to tell you oh yeah, I've always loved this site. There are so many YouTubers that I've seen out there that'll say, oh, I don't know how I feel about that site. It's not very good. And now they use it and they're like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's get out of here. So I've been using this thing for over 3 years now. So whatever. Almost 4 years now, actually. It's 2023. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, I ranted a little bit. But the Phillies and the Tigers, they made a trade, and this was not approved by the simulator. And I don't necessarily think that means it was a bad trade. Now, if you're looking in terms of numbers, the Tigers won this trade by a mile in terms of numbers and value. However, I don't really look at it that way because here's why. Now, the trade itself, you had Gregory Soto going to the Phillies and going back to the Tigers. You had Matt Vierling, Nick Maton, Donnie Sands, and also Cody Clemens went to the Phillies as well. So going to the Tigers, you had Nick Maton, Matt Vierling, and Donnie Sands. And going to the Phillies, you had Gregory Soto and Cody Clemens. But in terms of values, this trade is in favor of the Tigers. And here's why. Because Nick Maton, or is it Maton? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And Matt Vierling, they both are major league ready players who have a lot of control. And, you know, I saw a lot of people saying on Twitter, why is Matt Vierling's value at $7.2 million? Well, if you go take a look at Matt Vierling, his advanced numbers were actually really good. It looked like he was kind of running into some bad luck last year. His average exit velocity was really good. His expected numbers were all good. Excuse me. I think I have turned the corner from this cold that I got, and I'm still just getting rid of that last little bit, but I think I'm almost there. Doesn't strike out a whole lot, doesn't chase a whole lot, doesn't swing and miss a whole lot. He's got good speed. He's got a good arm out there. Doesn't get as many barrels, and he doesn't walk as much as you would want. But Matt Vierling is a 26-year-old player with good advanced numbers. He has a lot of control. That's why his value is at $7.2 million, or a median value. And then Nick Maton as well. This is a guy who is also under a lot of control, but he actually had himself a pretty good season last year. He's actually done pretty well in the major leagues in a pretty small sample size. He was up for 52 games in 2021. That year, he hit 256 with a 323 on base. 385 slugging is not all that great, but he was okay. You know, it wasn't the worst. He was doing something. And then last year, in 35 games, he hit 250, but his on base was actually a little bit higher, and his slugging was at a 514. He had 5 homers, 17 RBIs. And if we go take a look at the Tigers, he's actually slated right now to be their third baseman. So the Tigers got themselves a starting player who could jump in right now. Matt Vierling, he could end up going in somewhere. You never know. Akil Baddoo, he had himself a pretty bad season last year. Austin Meadows, he was basically a lost cause last year. So Matt Vierling is a guy who could end up having a bit of a role with the Tigers. So I like this for the Tigers a lot, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the Phillies lost the trade simply in terms of numbers. So let's talk about the Phillies side of things. Gregory Soto, this is a guy, he's going to pump gas. This guy throws just absolute gas. 100 miles an hour, tons of velocity from Gregory Soto. Good looking ERA, 3.28 over the 60 innings. However, I want to point out 60 strikeouts and 34 walks. That's a pretty terrible strikeout to walk ratio. If we go take a look at the walks per 9 last year, he had over actually in his whole career, he has had over 5 walks per 9. So he's a guy that has lacked a lot of control. If we take a look, ERA, like I said, looked pretty good at a 3.28, but the FIP was a 3.59. That's pretty good as well. However, I want to take a look at the xFIP, a 4.59, where xFIP is more based off of fly balls. So the one thing with Gregory Soto is he gives up a lot of hard hit balls. So combine that, it is a projection number, so do just want to point that out. But based off of the amount of hard hit contact that he gives up, that could translate into a higher ERA down the road. But the walks as well don't look good. And his strikeouts were down last year too. That was the one thing with Soto is, yeah, he walked a lot of guys, but he struck out a lot of guys. But last year, his strikeouts were down to around 9 per 9 innings. Whereas in 2021, you were getting close to around 11. And in 2020, he was over 11 strikeouts per 9. So his strikeouts were down and his walks are still high. So when it comes to Gregory Soto, this is a guy, the velocity is going to bail him out a lot, but it could turn into some inflated ERAs down the road. However, for the Phillies. It's another bullpen arm. They're really reshaping this bullpen completely. You have 4 options here at closer. Who do they end up going with? I'm not quite sure. I'm sure there'll be a battle in spring training. I wonder if Dominguez ends up getting that role or Kimbrel. Kimbrel, to me, always seems to just, when he's the closer, he seems to be like just better as a closer than a setup guy. I don't know why. Kimbrel probably just, he runs on that emotion. Like that adrenaline when he comes out for the 9th inning. Kimbrel, to me, is a 9th inning guy. I understand he did struggle a little bit last year with the Dodgers, but in terms of being a setup guy and a closer, to me, he's always been a better closer than a setup guy. So I wonder if he ends up getting the job. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think Soto is going to be the closer. I think out of all these guys, I would probably say either Dominguez or Kimbrel. We'll have to wait and see. So, Kimbrel, out of all these guys, gave up the most hits. But he had a good amount of strikeouts. Alvarado could end up being the closer, too. We'll have to wait and see. But, they've added Matt Strahm. Now they added Soto. They added Kimbrel. You've added 3 guys to this bullpen here. So, pretty good amount of action when it comes to adding relievers. We got a super chat from William. How you doing, my friend? Robbie, when are you going to give us your AL East predictions? Man, it's almost prediction season, isn't it? It's almost getting to that time. We're about, a month away when it comes to giving our doing season previews. So I'd probably say about a month away, my friend. A month and a half. That seems about right. I would say the offseason's not done yet. I still think there's a lot of trades out there that can be made. So, yeah, I'm not even in season preview mode. Right now, I'll tell you, when it comes to the American League East, I'll get back to this in just a second, but when it comes to the American League East, I really think it could be a battle. The Blue Jays, I think, are going to be really good. The Yankees are still going to be good. Look out for the Rays. I think the Rays, they had a lot of injuries last year. And I think if they're healthy, I think they can be a really good team. The Orioles were up and coming. I still think my Red Sox can be competitive in that division. How competitive? We'll have to wait and see. I'm starting to kind of I feel like they need a little bit more. They need a bit more on that team. They're not really there yet, I think. But what I do like about the Red Sox is that they got some good character guys on that team. And when I think of good character guys on a team, I think of the 2013 Red Sox, where they just had a lot of good chemistry on that team in 2004. If these guys end up liking each other, and they love playing together, and you got some guys that are very likable kind of guys, like Justin Turner, I think is going to be a clubhouse favorite. I think there could be some good chemistry among this Red Sox team, and I definitely think it could lead to some good things. Will that outweigh the talent of teams like the Blue Jays and the Rays and the Yankees and the Orioles coming on strong? I don't know. But right now, if I were to kind of give you a winner, I don't know, man. Kind of like the Blue Jays. I kind of like the way their team is looking. They've had a pretty, the last couple of years with the Blue Jays, they've kind of had a bit of a target on their back. They've been going after a lot of guys. And, they're kind of... Now they're more in the, I don't want to say the underdog role, but I would say a lot of people might not pick the Blue Jays this coming year, and I think they would probably like it that way. So they had a lot of expectations last year. A lot of people were picking them, maybe getting to the World Series. So I think the Blue Jays probably like the spot that they're in now, and I've liked some of the moves they made, man. I love Dalton Varsho. I think he's going to be great for them. But yeah, the Yankees, I still think they're going to be really good. It's very up in the air. Very up in the air. At the end of the day, my Red Sox are going to win the division by like 20 games, so it doesn't really matter. We got a super chat. Oh, it's from Wardy. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well, my man. Hey, Wardy, thank you for joining, man. Hope you're doing well. Dude, honestly, man, the fact that you got to meet Steve Steinbrenner himself, that's so cool. That's so cool. You got a picture with him. He's a lot shorter than I thought he was. He's a lot... I thought Steve Cohen would be like this big old tall dude. And no, man, I didn't even think. But anyway, keep killing it. You'll be at 30K subs in no time. I'm hoping so, my friend. You're going to be there too. You're going to be there too, man. You're killing it, man. You got a picture with Steve Cohen. That's awesome, man. I would love to have a picture with Steve Cohen. The only time I ever tried to get a picture with a player was Coco Crisp. And I was 15 years old. I rudely interrupted his conversation with an elderly woman, looked like the sweetest woman. But 15-year-old me wanted a picture and an autograph with Cocoa Crisp, and he looked at me like he wanted to rip my head off. So you're doing way better than me in that department, my friend. But hey, man, you're killing it, man. You're always bringing the good news for the Mets. You're going to have a fun season, man. You're going to have a fun season. I mean, gosh. You thought last year was fun? Dude, wait till this season, man. You're going to have a blast. CRaz951. Wardy, thank you for the super chat, my friend. You're awesome. And just in case anyone didn't hear, John Heyman, he did not tag Wardy in the Twitter post. So please, everyone, go follow Wardy if you want the best Mets news. CRaz951, read Boob's tweet about the Dodgers and the Bauer meeting. He tweeted something? I'll get to that in just a second, CRaz. I did talk about how the Dodgers and Trevor Bauer had a meeting, and he was saying, I talked about this the other night when he got released. And he said that they had a meeting. But did Bob give some more details? I'll go look at that in just a second. Let me finish up here with the Phillies. I got sidetracked there a little bit. But taking a look here, I like the move. I like it. I think Soto, anytime you can add a guy that can pump velocity like that from the left side, sure, numbers are great and all, but you're adding a guy who can throw 100 from the left side. I mean, that's going to be pretty valuable, at least at times. That's kind of, to me, with Gregory Soto, if they use him in the correct spots, I think he could end up being a really valuable piece. Sure, we can look at these numbers and whatever all day, and they don't look all that great in some areas, but I think Soto can end up being a very useful piece. So, but when it comes to the trade, in conclusion, I do think it's not really, to me, it's not really like who won, who lost, because these players for the Phillies, Nick Maton, Matt Vierling, Donnie Sands, these guys were probably not going to get a lot of playing time. The Phillies, there was really no use for them. They have more of an opportunity now with the Tigers. Now, if one of these guys ends up being really good for the Tigers down the road, let's say Nick Maton turns into like an all-star, and I guarantee you're going to start seeing people, let's say Gregory Soto ends up completely flaming out, ends up being just a bust, and then someone like Nick Maton ends up being like a really solid player, maybe an all-star or something. I can see people being like, wow, the Phillies really lost that trade. But it's kind of one of those things where the Phillies, they kind of just don't, they don't really need these guys. I think Matt Vierling could have had a pretty important role, especially with Harper out, so I feel like he could have been useful, but it is what it is. Donnie Sands, I mean, he wasn't really going to be doing much. So I don't really look at this as I like it for the Tigers. I lean a little bit more to the Tigers because I'm just biased in terms of when you can get players that are under contract control. I like that. I like when you can get guys that are like not going to be a free agent for 4 or 5 years and they can end up being, possibly pretty solid players for you. Matt Vierling had good advanced numbers. Nick Maton seems like he could be a pretty solid player. Donnie Sands can have a role. But yeah, I'm not really looking at this as like a win-lose because the Phillies weren't going to be doing anything with these guys. So they also, for the Phillies, where they do win a little bit, is that they're clearing some guys off of their 40-man roster. So could the Phillies maybe be making another move or two? So for the Phillies, I don't really see, there wasn't really a point hanging on to these guys if it could get you a guy that could help you win a championship. That's what the Phillies are trying to do right now. They're trying to win a championship. The Tigers are not really in that mode. Who knows? Maybe they can go on a crazy run and maybe make the playoffs. I don't know. But I think for the Phillies, it's a good move for them now, right? Because they feel like if you can add a guy like this throwing gas from the left side, that could end up being a valuable piece for their bullpen. And you're giving up guys. Yeah, sure, they have some pretty good value, but they're not really going to do anything for you. Vierling could have done a bit for you with Harper out, but in the end, I like the move. I do. I like it for the Tigers a bit more because I think there's more ceiling for them. But that's not really a knock on the Phillies. You know what I mean? It's not really something with the Phillies where I feel like these guys have more of a ceiling with the Tigers than they do with the Phillies. So I hope that makes sense. I do like it for the Tigers. For the Phillies, hopefully they can get something right with Soto. Hopefully they can get the walks down a little bit, maybe get the strikeouts up a little bit. We'll just have to wait and see on that. We got another super chat coming in, $5. Trevor Bauer hasn't been released yet. He was designated for assignment. Yeah, he's going to be released though. Like, there's teams are not going to trade for him. He's designated for assignment. Yes, that is the correct term, so apologies for that. He was designated for assignment. I don't think a team is going to trade for him. Maybe. I don't know. We've seen crazier things, but I just don't see anyone giving up prospects for him. And I don't know. I would think, to me, a team, if they really wanted him, they probably feel like they would have a good chance of just signing him as a free agent. So that's what I think. But Sermon King, yes, thank you for that correction there. Yes, designated for assignment. But since we're on that topic, let me go. What was the tweet here? Or what did Bob Knight? Because we had that super chat from CRaz951 about the Dodgers and Bauer. They had a meeting. Where is this tweet? Dude, Bob Nightingale tweets so much. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this. Let me see. Bauer, Dodgers, meeting, Nightingale. All right, so he did write about it on USA Today. Yeah, okay. Oh, I think I saw this. Let me actually talk about this here a little bit. So Bob Nightingale wrote in this article that during the meeting that Dodger officials declined to go into details of their conversation, but privately revealed that they didn't hear any remorse, apologies, or anything in the slightest from Bauer to change their mind. So I can actually believe that, because Trevor Bauer has said, like, he's actually made a YouTube video saying that he didn't do anything wrong, that he was innocent, blah, blah, blah. So I can actually believe that Bauer went into this meeting and said, I'm not apologizing because I didn't do anything. I'm not saying that's what actually happened. I'm saying that that's what Bauer, his mindset probably was. So I can actually believe that. However, there was, with Bauer, in case you missed it, he actually tweeted out something. He said, following 2 weeks of conversations around my return to the organization, I sat down with Dodgers leadership in Arizona, who told me that they wanted me to return and pitch for the team this year. So I thought that was really juicy when he said that, saying that the Dodgers wanted him back. I think the Dodgers would have had him back. I think if he had maybe been a bit more apologetic, a bit more remorseful, of like, whatever, believe what you want. I don't really care. That's not what I'm talking about. Whether he did actually, do all that, like, if he was guilty for everything or not guilty, whatever. I still think in the end, you obviously made mistakes to get to that point of where everything happened. So that you probably should have been at least you should have been a bit more remorseful for all of that, because obviously things happened along the way to where it got pretty hairy, obviously. But two Dodgers officials, after Bauer said that the Dodgers wanted him back, two people from the Dodgers ended up saying that they never conveyed those sentiments to Bauer. So I don't know what's going on with that, man. I don't know what's happening with that. It's I don't know. Who knows? At this point, it's he said, she said. But yeah, I don't want to talk about Trevor Bauer. I'm just over talking about Trevor Bauer at this point. It's just no more Trevor Bauer. No more. Like, I would love for him to come pitch back in the major leagues again. I've always found Trevor Bauer to be just a very fun pitcher to watch. I do like the vlogs, he's an interesting character, but He's definitely a lightning rod of a guy, and he can get a bit tiring. You know, I think we can all agree. He can get a little tiring, whether you're a fan of him or not. So, that's all I'm talking about with Trevor Bauer. That's all I'm talking about. So, let's get to our next story. So, hold on a second. Let me click out of these here. Oh, we got an interesting one. I'm gonna dive into this one a little bit. This isn't really like an actual story, but I watched this video earlier, right? And I thought it was really interesting. It was, I don't know, I think he made some good points. So let's talk a little, you know, we're basically in trade season right now when it comes to like any big moves being made. Pretty much all the free agents are off the board. You got a couple still there on the market, but there is one guy that has come up as a trade possibility. I don't think he will get traded, but I will give some credit because someone made a video about Shane Bieber as a possible trade candidate, and he made some pretty good points. So in case you don't know, Cardinals fans, you're going to like this one. So he made a video. It's right here at the top. Is Shane Bieber the certain player the Cardinals are trying to acquire? So I'm going to give credit like John Heyman should have with Wardy. John, I hope you're watching. I hope you're learning a lesson here. So Charlie Marlowe and 590 The Fan Baseball Talk. I'm guessing that's a radio station in St. Louis. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm sure Cardinals fans know who Charlie Marlowe is. But so Jim Bowden, my best friend, Jim Bowden, in case you don't know, Jim Bowden did unblock me. He did unblock me. But in this article, so Jim Bowden made an article a few days ago called "What I'm Hearing from MLB Front Offices is the Next Move for Every Team." I'm going to be honest here. I highly doubt that Jim Bowden called every single team and was able to get like any sort of amazing information. There were a couple of pieces in here. Jim Bowden is someone that has gotten some stuff right before. He's more wrong than he is right, just like me. I'm more wrong than I am right too, so that's why we're just great buddies. But he did mention something here in this article about the Cardinals. So it says here that they're assessing the trade and free agent markets. The Cardinals filled their biggest offseason need when they signed catcher Willson Contreras. Now they are open-minded and looking for ways to improve their team. They are actively pursuing trades and keeping tabs on the free agent market. It is believed the Cardinals are working to acquire a certain player, but want to make sure more specifics don't become public because it would hurt their chances of completing a trade. So, Charlie Marlowe, he was speculating whether or not that could be Shane Bieber. And I don't think he is crazy for thinking that it could be Shane Bieber. If I'm leaning one way right now, I don't think the Guardians trade him. But we have seen the Guardians trade guys that are drawing closer to free agency. They did hang on to Jose Ramirez, so that was one guy they did hang on to, but we've seen them trade. Speaking of Trevor Bauer, we've seen them trade him before. They've traded Francisco Lindor. They have traded guys in the past that are in their arbitration years. So it's not completely out of the question to maybe speculate if Shane Bieber could be a trade candidate. I personally don't think so. He's not a free agent until 2025. There's 2 years left for him. But if the Guardians wanted to take advantage of his value, they really could get something for him. Trevor Bauer, if you remember, he wasn't traded until the trade deadline, I believe in 2019. And so he had a half a season with the Reds, and then he had another full season in 2020. So they traded him a year and a half away from his free agency. Shane Bieber is 2 years away from free agency. So I feel like it is a little too early because the Guardians are a good team. You know, obviously they just got to game 5 of the ALDS against the Yankees. They had a good team last year. I don't know. I don't think Bieber is someone that you trade right now. I personally don't. I don't think that's something that they should do. Because at that point, your rotation is Tristan McKenzie, Cal Quantrill, Savali, Plesac, and then who could be another guy that you could throw in there? I don't know. If you were to go down into the minors, they do got some guys that could be coming up at some point. But I don't know, man. I feel like, Daniel Espino is a guy to keep an eye out for. He could really rise up and maybe get some starts, but a guy at Bieber's level, I don't know. I think it'd be a little too difficult to replace Bieber at this point. Unless the Guardians feel like they need to improve elsewhere on their team. Now, if we're looking at the Guardians, when you're looking at position by position, one area that the big area that I see personally is center field. Miles Straw, he's going to give you a ton of speed, but his bat is pretty lifeless. A 273 slugging last year. He'll give you a lot of speed, but if they really want, they've been adding power to this lineup. They added Josh Bell. They added Mike Zunino, who, if he's healthy, he could hit for a lot of power. And Steven Kwan, I think, is only going to keep getting better. So, if you were to add something for the Guardians, I would think an outfielder. Oscar Gonzalez, I think he mostly played right field last year. Steven Kwan, I think he played a couple of games out in center field, but he was more of the left fielder. So could you put Steven Kwan out in center field and maybe get a corner outfielder? One guy that the Cardinals do have, maybe Tyler O'Neill. He didn't have a great season last year. Maybe they could end up making some kind of a move for him. There's a lot of possibilities here. I know this is pure speculation at this point. I just really found the video that he did earlier. Again, that was Charlie Marlowe. I thought it was really interesting, and he had my attention the entire time. It's a good video. So, taking a look here. Let's go Cardinals. But here's the thing. Now, the Cardinals, the one thing the Cardinals need, I've been saying this for like a while now. The Cardinals need something at the top of this rotation. I like Adam Wainwright. I like Miles Michaelis. I like Jordan Montgomery. Jack Flaherty, if he can finally be healthy, I think he can be really good. Steven Matz, up and down last year with health. I've said this a million times. I see a rotation full of threes. This is a rotation full of number 3 guys. Miles Michaelis, I think, you could say is a 2. Adam Wainwright, Michaelis, they could be okay number 2s, I think. When you're looking at like 1-2s, like if you're looking at like Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, that to me is like an elite 1-2 in a rotation, right? So Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis, I think that's a decent like 2-3 in a rotation, but they need a guy that is going to just lead the rotation. Bieber could be an option. You're not going to get Corbin Burns, so Brewers would never do that. They would never. First off, I don't think they're trading him, and they would never trade him to the Cardinals, so that's out. That's why people have said maybe Trevor Bauer. You could add him, but I don't know. I don't think that's the route they really go. So let's put together a trade here, because Bieber has been, his name has been out there, and the Guardians have traded guys in the past that are, a couple of years away from free agency. So Bieber right now on baseball trade values has a $57.2 million value. Now the Cardinals, they could get some of this done, man. If you wanted to send back someone like O'Neill, I wonder if they would deal Nootbaar. Probably not. Nootbaar had himself a pretty decent season last year. But, got a pretty good on base, 340, decent slugging of 448. But Tyler O'Neill, I wonder if that's a guy where you could move him And then you can move. They got guys that are depth. Or could you maybe deal someone like Dylan Carlson, who didn't have a great year last year? He is a young guy, a center fielder. Could you maybe do something with Dylan Carlson, who still has a lot of value? And look at that. Right away, that you're looking pretty close with these values. Maybe the Guardians or the Cardinals, they can throw in one more piece, a prospect or two, and you could get Bieber. You know, for the Guardians, they would have a guy who's under a lot of control, can be your center fielder. You know, I think he would be a bit of an upgrade. You know, could you do something like wacky? Could you just swap like a whole bunch of players? You know, the Cardinals, as of right now, if we take a look at the Cardinals, you got Tommy Edman at short, but maybe let's say Tommy Edman's a guy who can play all over. Maybe you could move Tommy Edman back to an outfield spot, you know, or you could move Edman to second base. You could move Donovan. That's another guy who played multiple positions, I believe, last year. Yeah, he played a ton of different positions. So he played second, third, right field, left field. Didn't play any center field, though. But they got some guys. If you moved Carlson, you could put someone out there in center field. Edman, he played one game out in center field. So, I don't know. But let's say you could move Edman or Donovan or someone to center. And then maybe the Guardians, they could send back Rosario. That's a guy, his name has come up. He's also getting pretty close to free agency. So that could be their shortstop. That would be another pretty decent bat for the Cardinals. Where is Rosario? Okay, Rosario, where are you at? Cannot find Rosario. Rosario, you're missing. Where are you? Well, how did I miss him? I was just right there. Here we go. So maybe you could do something like this. And then the Guardians could end up getting back like a prospect. Maybe like someone like a Mason Wynn. You know? I don't know. Something. They got players here that you could maybe make something happen. Again, I am just speculating. You know, and I'm speculating because of a speculation video. So I don't think this happens. I don't think Shane Bieber wouldn't go anywhere right now. I think they would probably hang on to him for right now and see kind of where they're at the trade deadline. I think they're going to be good this year. So to me, I'd rather you sign Bieber to an extension. I think that seems to be the more appropriate thing to do, I would think. But maybe Bieber wants to get to the free agent market. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. But that is leading us to our next story. The Marlins, I mean, I don't know why this is even like really a story, but because we've seen this before. I don't know, but whatever. I guess people wanted it to be out there in the news more, I guess. But according to Bob Nightingale, Pablo Lopez is just one of 4 starters that the Marlins are telling other teams are available in trade talks. The other 3 are Edward Cabrera, Trevor Rogers, and Jesus Luzardo. We've heard this story before. This is nothing new because a while ago we had a story that the Marlins were willing to trade anyone in their rotation. So I don't know why this is supposedly like a new story, because this is really nothing new. I wonder if the Cardinals could go after Pablo Lopez. Here, the thing with Pablo Lopez, he's not really like a number 1 to me. He's like a good 2-3 in a rotation. I think he would be, I think, the number 2 in this rotation. I think Adam Wainwright is going to start opening day. I think, unless you get like someone like Shane Bieber, I think Adam Wainwright starting opening day. And Lopez would be the number 2. It would be a pretty decent rotation if you had Pablo Lopez. It would. It would be a rather nice rotation. But he's not really, to me, like an ace kind of a guy. And I don't see the Cardinals. I mean, maybe the Cardinals could be interested in someone like Edward Cabrera. Cabrera, to me, out of Cabrera, Trevor Rogers, and Jesus Luzardo, I would want Edward Cabrera. Not even without any doubt at all. I would love to have Edward Cabrera. Out of all the guys, I think the Marlins probably want to trade Pablo Lopez the most because Cabrera, Rogers, and Luzardo have a ton of control. And Pablo Lopez still has enough control to where you're going to get a decent amount of value back for him. So that's the guy I think the Marlins want to trade the most. I mean, I think everyone would agree with that. But I would love Edward Cabrera. That would be pretty nice. But I guess someone on the Marlins, they wanted this news to get out there again that they're shopping. I don't know what's going on with the Red Sox. The Red Sox and the Marlins, they were talking. Could we maybe have something this week? I feel like you're starting to see the Marlins in the news a bit more. And I'm wondering if there could be something close. Because teams like to put stuff out there into the media for leverage. So I'm wondering if the Marlins are maybe putting something out like this out there to try and get other teams to really start jumping in, to the fray to try and bump up prices and whatnot. It sounds like to me that the Marlins are probably not liking the offers. So they're trying to get more teams involved, or they're probably, like with the Red Sox, maybe Chaim Bloom is being a little difficult and he's not really budging. So maybe the Marlins are going out there. Hey, Bob, go put this out there. We're shopping our, 4 guys besides Sandy Alcantara. So you're putting it out there in the media and, teams or maybe, all right, they're jumping in on the fray. So maybe trying to get some asking prices up. So we'll have to wait and see. I think we could see something with the Marlins this week. I think that's possible. But I think Pablo Lopez has to get traded eventually. I don't know, man. I don't know. But let's transition here to our next story. And the Yankees, that same article, actually, that the Yankees, let's actually talk about the good old Yankees here. Where is the AL East? Here we go. All right, so the Yankees, they're still focused on left field. According to reports out there, they did really want Andrew Benintendi back. That's what I was saying on the stream. I'm like, why don't you bring this guy back? Bring him back. And they didn't bring him back because I guess they didn't want to go I don't remember. I think they said I don't remember what I read. I'm trying to remember. But they didn't want to go, or they were willing to go the 5 years for Andrew Benintendi, but I think the White Sox just beat him out. And so he ended up going to the White Sox. But the Yankees, they are looking at some possibilities, and they have shown interest in Jurickson Profar. I think Profar is a pretty interesting free agent that's still out there. I think there's a lot of teams that he could go to, but wouldn't be surprised. The Yankees, the Brian Reynolds talks have kind of cooled off here in the last couple of weeks, it seems. So not hearing a whole lot about that, but hey, it's a new week. Maybe we hear some more. But there's also the Rockies. The Rockies have become a possibility for Jurickson Profar, according to Jim Bowden, saying here that the Rockies have tried to acquire a left-handed hitting outfielder, but missed out on Brandon Nimmo, Andrew Benintendi, and Cody Bellinger. Nevertheless, they're committed to landing one before spring training, with the switch hitting Jurickson Profar a real possibility. They're also trying to add 2 more pitchers to their staff. That's why we have seen the Rockies connected with the Marlins. We've heard that there were some talks between those two teams where the Rockies were interested in Edward Cabrera, and then maybe Brendan Rodgers could go back to the Marlins. The Marlins are going to make some kind of a trade here soon. I feel like you're hearing a lot of chatter, and I feel like it's inevitable before that the Marlins make a deal. So, but yeah, that is pretty much all there is on Jurickson Profar. I am interested to see where he ends up going, but everyone, I think that's all I got. I think I covered everything tonight. We talked Liam Hendriks. We talked, not great news, but Liam Hendriks, man, Mr. Hendriks, you are in my thoughts, my friend. I am, I have all the confidence in the world, man, that you're going to have a speedy recovery, and you're going to be back on the mound before you know it. Hey, man, Wardy, congratulations again. Getting the chance to actually get a quote from Steve Cohen. That's a dream. Absolute dream. But yeah, Carlos Correa. What's going to happen with him? I don't think it's guaranteed that he goes back to the Mets, but I think there's a better chance that he ends up with the Mets than going back to the Twins, because I think Correa wants to go to the Mets. At the end of the day, Boris can sit there and play his little games, but at the end of the day, Carlos Correa is... You got to listen to what Carlos Correa wants to do. If Carlos Correa wants to be a Met, he'll be a Met. So Scott Boras, he can sit there and negotiate all he wants. But if Correa wants to go to Queens, Boras has got to listen to him. So I think there's a better chance that Correa goes to the Mets and he'll end up there. In the end, with the trade between the Phillies and the Tigers, I think it's fine for both sides. I think the players that the Tigers ended up getting back, I think, to me, they weren't going to do anything with the Phillies. So I think they have a better opportunity with the Tigers. And then, for the Phillies, they're getting just a flamethrower of a guy. Sure, gives up contact, gives up a lot of hard hit contact, gives up a lot of walks, but he could end up being a valuable piece for the Phillies. The Yankees, they're still out there active. Could the Guardians end up maybe moving Shane Bieber? I don't think so. I think he ends up staying, but I thought that was an interesting video from, once again, if you didn't catch the name, Charlie Marlowe. They seem like they got some good people over there talking Cardinals. And, but either way, though, it is a story that the Cardinals are looking at a certain player. Who is that certain player? I don't know. I don't know who that certain player is. But could Shane Bieber be that guy? Could it be Pablo Lopez? Who else? Let me know in the comments. Who do you think that certain player could be? The Cardinals, it looks like they're going to be making some kind of a move eventually. We'll have to wait and see. I do think they need someone for the top of that rotation. If Shane Bieber ends up going to the Cardinals, what a move that would be. That would be huge. That'd be huge. And honestly, I think they need to make some kind of a move. The Cubs have been making moves. The Pirates have been making moves. They signed Rich Hill. I mean, you're going to win a World Series when you got Rich Hill. I mean, come on. They got to make a move. The Brewers have been busy this offseason. The Cardinals haven't really done all that much. They added Wilson Contreras, but other than that, not a whole lot of moves. Oh, Zachary Goldstein. We did have AJ Pollock, didn't we? I forgot about that. That was just that was a day ago. Yeah, the Mariners signing AJ Pollock. And I think for the Mariners, they've been in the market for outfielders. Not really the guy that you were hoping the Mariners were going to land. Does this eliminate them from the Brian Reynolds sweepstakes? I never thought the Mariners were a good trade candidate for Brian Reynolds in the first place. I didn't think they matched up very well. But there were people like John Morosi out there saying oh, Mariners fans, I think you're going to, you should be feeling pretty excited or feeling way better than you were last week about getting Brian Reynolds. I didn't see the Mariners as a good trade partner because they didn't really line up when it came to players, right? I mean, sure, the Mariners, they're trying to be a competitive team, but that doesn't mean, and they got prospects, but that doesn't necessarily mean they line up very well in a trade. So I think, could AJ Pollock, adding him, could that be the end of the Mariners for Brian Reynolds? I don't know. I don't think they're going to get Brian Reynolds. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. But AJ Pollock going to the Mariners as well. That is notable. But everyone, I'm going to get out of here. But on your way out, please, if you can hit the like button for us. I don't ask much, and I know it's annoying, but if you can, hit the like button. That would be greatly appreciated. If we can get to 200 likes on this stream, that would be amazing. We're at 132 right now, so if you could help us out there, I would be greatly thankful for that. And subscribe if you are new. We're trying to get to 30K by opening day. And also, everyone, go subscribe to Wardy, NYM. I think I forgot to mention that, but go subscribe to him if you're a Mets fan. He gives great Mets content over there. Also, everyone, share the stream so people can catch the replay. Hit the bell notification as well. Don't forget our sponsor, Bet Online. Use the code BELIEVE. You get a 50% welcome bonus. But everyone, I'm going to get out of here. Expect some content this week. I actually might do maybe a video on maybe who that certain player could be for the Cardinals. And I am going to be coming out with some offseason grades here eventually. The offseason's not quite over yet, so I don't want to jump the gun too quick. But I would like to do something like that soon, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, probably some more live streams this week. Probably have some news this week. Everyone, I'm out of here. It's almost 10:30. I gotta get to bed. I gotta work in the morning. But thank you for stopping by. Do greatly appreciate all of you. And everyone, have a great night. And I'll talk to you next time.